Your no isn't the problem, it's the extra options you type right after. Next time you get a quick favor text, say, "I can't take that on," and stop. In a minute I'll show you what to do when they push with "it would mean a lot," without folding. Ready? In the full episode, we walk through how to hold that line when they push for alternatives. Your phone lights up at 6:18 p.m. while you're standing in the kitchen, half your mind already on dinner and the other half trying to remember one thing you promised yourself you'd do tonight. It's a message that starts with quick question and ends with a favor that is not quick at all. You feel it immediately, that little forward lean in your body, that mental scramble where you start searching for ways to say no without actually saying no. You already know the move you're about to pull. You're going to turn your no into a helpful menu so they don't have to feel the discomfort of hearing it. Here's the discomfort you don't like admitting. You don't just avoid saying no, you avoid letting someone sit with the consequences of your no. Use this sentence today, exactly as written, "I can't take that on." You send it, and you stop typing. In the next 10 minutes, you'll feel a strange kind of relief that almost scares you, because you didn't negotiate, you didn't explain, you didn't soften it with alternatives. Your shoulders loosen. Your brain stops drafting a second message. You notice the urge to add, "but I could," and you let it pass. You didn't fix the moment, and the world didn't collapse. The request didn't become your emergency. Educational content inspired by classical Stoic texts. Not medical, psychological, financial, or legal advice. This won't rush you, but it will keep you from spiraling. Because the spiral is predictable. Someone asks for something, you say a version of no, and then you immediately start doing free labor to make your no feel less like a no. You offer other times, other people, partial help, a template, a quick look, a maybe later, a send it over and I'll see. And you tell yourself you're being kind. But what you're actually doing is trying to control the emotional outcome. You're trying to keep them pleased. You're trying to avoid the tiny moment where they might feel disappointed, annoyed, or awkward. And that costs you. It costs you more than time. It costs you your attention, because even after you say no, your mind stays involved. It costs you your energy, because you're not just declining, you're managing. It costs you your self-respect, because you can feel the gap between what you said and what you meant. And the worst part is how quiet the cost is. You don't see it as one big sacrifice. You see it as a bunch of small helpful moments that add up until your week feels like it belongs to other people. This is costing you your evenings. It's costing you your weekends. It's costing you the ability to show up fully for your own priorities, because your no keeps leaking into your calendar as unpaid commitments. By the end of this, you'll be able to deliver a clean no without extra labor. You'll reduce workload creep and the emotional exhaustion that shows up when you're constantly overextending. And you'll feel self-respect without guilt, not because guilt disappears, but because you stop letting guilt write your sentences. If you want more episodes like this, practical tools that work in real conversations, stick around. Subscribe for more Stoic Focus Lab. First, you'll learn how to say no without giving anyone a handle to pull on. Next, you'll learn how to stop explaining when they push. Then you'll practice how to respond when someone tries to draft you into coordination. Finally, you'll watch it all play out in a pressure moment where your body wants to cave and you choose steadiness instead. And later, you're going to be in a very specific scene. You're tired, someone says it would mean a lot, and you feel your mouth opening to offer 3 alternatives you don't actually want to do. You'll know exactly what to say and, more importantly, exactly what not to add. You're sitting at your desk in a normal North American workday rhythm. Maybe it's a Monday. Your calendar has blocks you fought to protect, and for once you're inside a focused groove. Then you get the message, "Hey, can you help me with this? If you can't, could you at least point me to someone who can, or give me a quick outline of what to do?" This looks polite. It looks reasonable. But it's designed to trigger your reflex. Because it doesn't just ask for help, it offers you escape hatches that still involve you. It quietly implies that even if you can't do the task, you should still donate attention, problem solving, and emotional reassurance. Here's the lived example that probably feels too familiar. You read the message, you feel a squeeze in your chest, and your mind goes straight into a search engine mode. You start scanning your mental list of coworkers. You start thinking about what template you could send. You start drafting a response that includes options, because options are your way of staying liked. Options are your way of avoiding the moment where you might be seen as unhelpful. The microscript is short. Short is the point. Say it exactly like this. I can't help with that. Then add, only if you want a second sentence. I hope it goes well. That's it. Why it works is not complicated. It works because it removes negotiation hooks. When you offer alternatives, you're not just being nice, you're opening a door. You're communicating that your no is actually a conversation starter. And people will walk through that door. Not because they're evil, but because you taught them there's room to. You taught them that if they apply a little pressure, you'll move. A clean no is a closed door. Not a slammed door. Just a closed door. And the closed door is what creates relief, because relief comes from closure. Now, here's the part people get wrong. They think closure is rude. They think closure is cold. But closure is actually respectful. It tells the truth quickly. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't tease hope. It doesn't say maybe when you mean no, and that's respectful to them, too, because it doesn't keep them waiting or bargaining. Let's put friction on it with a North American example that happens all the time. A coworker says, if you can't do it, could you just hop on a quick call and tell me what you'd do? That's the disguised request. It's still work. It's still your time. It still pulls you into the problem. You say, I can't jump in on this. And then you stop. You can feel the urge to add, but maybe tomorrow, or but ask so-and-so, or but here's what I think. That urge is the moment you're training. The urge is the gym. The urge is where you either build strength or stay the same. Here's a simple, embodied explanation for that urge. Your nervous system wants social safety. Your body thinks, if I provide options, they won't be upset. Your body thinks, if I keep this smooth, I'll stay in good standing. Your body confuses discomfort with danger. So it tries to remove discomfort by offering solutions. But you're not here to remove every ounce of discomfort. You're here to act with self-respect. Tiny action, measurable today. For the next 24 hours, use a 2-sentence limit for any no. 2 sentences total. Not 2 sentences plus a paragraph. 2 sentences and stop. If you want to be extra practical, write 3 versions right now and keep them ready. I can't help with that. I'm not available. I can't take that on. Pick one as your default. Now the slow practice moment, brief but real. Before you reply to the next request, do this. Put your tongue gently on the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. It sounds weird, but it relaxes your jaw. Then take one slow exhale that's longer than your inhale. As you exhale, soften your shoulders. This is a physical signal to your body that you're not in danger. You don't need to bargain. You don't need to perform. You can just answer. Then you send the short script. And here's the forward pull that matters. If you can't do this in the small moments, you will not do it in the big moments. The big boundary with the pushy person, the demanding boss, the guilt-heavy family member, that's not where you start. You start here. You start by practicing clean closure and low-stakes requests so your body learns, I can survive someone not getting what they want from me. Now let's shift the energy so this doesn't get emotionally flat. Because the real problem isn't that you don't know the words. The real problem is that when pressure shows up, you forget you're allowed to be simple. Here's a tense story. You're walking out of work, or you're closing your laptop, and your brain is already reaching for rest. Then someone catches you. Hey, before you go, can you take a look at this? It'll only take you 5 minutes. You can hear the urgency in their voice. You can also hear the hidden demand. If you say no, you're the obstacle. If you say no, you're the reason they're stressed. And you feel yourself about to fix it. So you make the mistake. You say, I can't tonight, but I can try later, or maybe I can just skim it, or maybe send it and I'll look when I can. That's the mistake. You turn a no into a flexible maybe. And maybe become a leash. Because now you're not free. Now you're kind of committed. Now your evening is haunted by a half promise. Now you're thinking about it while you eat dinner. Now you're checking your phone. Now you're resentful, but you can't fully blame them because you offered it. The correction is a rule. Your no has to be complete. Here's the script that makes it complete. I can't do that. If you need one more sentence for clarity, you can say, I'm not available tonight. Now here's where people panic. They think they need to justify it. They think I'm not available invites the question, why? So they start explaining. But you don't have to. Because your availability is not a court case. It's not a debate. It's a statement. Why it works, it removes the bargaining zone. Bargaining is where you get drained. Bargaining is where your emotions get hijacked. Bargaining is where you start managing someone else's expectations and your own guilt at the same time. And in Stoic terms, this is where you separate externals from your own agency. You can't control their stress. You can't control their urgency. You can't control whether they think you're helpful. You can control what you choose and what you agree to. You can control your language. You can control whether you volunteer for a task you don't want. That's the core. Now the tiny action, you practice the one repeat rule. When someone pushes after your no, you repeat your no once, calmly, without adding new reasons. Not 5 times. Not escalating. Just one repeat. It looks like this. Them, come on, it'll only take 5 minutes. You, yeah, I can't. That's it. And the pattern interrupt is a question you ask yourself in the moment, quietly, am I trying to be respectful, or am I trying to be approved? Because approval chasing is what makes you over-explain. Approval chasing is what makes you offer alternatives. Approval chasing is what makes you bargain with your own time. Now take a breath. Just one. Let it be slow. Feel how your body wants to rush into more words. Your body thinks words equal safety. But more words equal more openings. Here's a North American workplace example with real momentum. Your manager asks, can you take this on? If you can't, what can you do? Can you at least tell me who should handle it? If you truly have authority to redirect work, you might say, I can't take that on. The right owner is the operations team. But notice what's happening. You're not offering 3 alternatives. You're not volunteering to coordinate. You're naming ownership. That's different. That's not emotional labor. That's role clarity. If you don't have that authority or you don't know, you can say, I can't take that on. I'm not sure who owns it. And then you stop. Forward pull line. Later, someone will push with emotion, not logic. They'll make it personal. If you can't hold a clean no when the push is mild, you won't hold it when the push is guilt. This is the training ground. Here's another false belief that ruins you. If I don't provide options, I'm being selfish or abandoning them. That belief sounds moral, but it often masks a fear of discomfort. It also assumes you're responsible for outcomes you don't control. It assumes that if someone has a problem and you're nearby, you must become part of the solution. That's not kindness. That's compulsive responsibility. Clear instruction with stakes. You are allowed to let other adults solve their own logistics without you becoming a helper bot. If you don't learn this, your life becomes a relay race where everyone hands you their baton and you keep running until you collapse. And you'll call it being reliable. But reliability without boundaries becomes exploited, even by well-meaning people. Here's the script for the sneakiest trap, the if not you, then who question. That question is designed to pull you into coordination. It's a second request hiding inside the first. They're not asking for your time, they're asking for your mental network and your problem solving. You say, I'm not able to help with this. If they push, I hear you. I'm still not able to help. This is the line that keeps you human without becoming involved. I hear you acknowledges. I'm still not able holds. Now a North American pressure example under heat, it's family. A relative says, "Can you drive me to the airport? If you can't, can you at least find me a ride or pay for an Uber? You know I don't have anyone else." Your body reacts. Your body wants to fix it. Your body wants to save them from discomfort because their discomfort feels like your responsibility. And this is where you usually start negotiating. I can't drive, but maybe I can. Slow practice moment. Before you answer, put your hand on your chest for 1 second. Feel your breath. That's the signal. You are here. You are choosing. You are not being dragged. Then you decide. If it's no, I can't do that. I hope you can figure out a ride. If it's yes, you make it limited and specific. I can drive you Friday at 6 a.m., but I can't do anything beyond that. You don't create alternatives you don't want. You don't offer to coordinate. You choose one clear action, or you choose none. Now, stress test this with the workplace version. Someone says, "If you can't do it, can you at least give me a quick outline so I can do it?" That's still work. It's still your brain. It's still your attention. It's still your time. You say, "I can't take that on." If you want to be compassionate without involvement, I'm rooting for you. And you stop. Now here's the important part. You do not promise closure. You do not promise they'll be happy. You do not promise your relationship will feel perfect. You're building a boundary that survives pressure, not a boundary that avoids tension. Tease the vignette without promising closure. In the next story, the person doesn't respond warmly. They don't say no worries. They don't say I understand. They go quiet. Or they send a passive-aggressive message. And you'll feel your mind wanting to repair the vibe. You'll practice staying steady anyway. It's late in the week. Your energy is lower than you want to admit. You've been carrying too much, and you can feel it in small ways. Your patience is thinner, your body feels tight, and you're craving an hour that belongs only to you. You're finally about to log off when the message hits. It's from someone you know well at work. They're not rude. They're not villains. That's what makes it harder. The message says, "Hey, I'm in a bind. Can you take this on?" It would mean a lot. If you can't, could you at least give me a direction or tell me who to ask? There it is. The old pattern lights up. Your chest tightens. Your mind races. You start generating options like a vending machine. Maybe you can do a small piece. Maybe you can look quickly. Maybe you can send a template. Maybe you can connect them to someone. Maybe you can sacrifice your evening again. You can feel the old reaction almost winning because your body wants relief. Your body wants to avoid the discomfort of being the person who says no and lets the other person feel it. So you start with the first tool, the clean no, boring and complete. You type, "I can't take that on." And then you stop. Your finger hovers over the keyboard because the guilt reflex is loud. It says, add something. Fix it. Soften it. Offer a path. You can almost feel the second message forming, but maybe I could. This is where you do the slow practice moment. You take one long exhale. Longer than your inhale. You relax your shoulders on the exhale. You notice your jaw is clenched and you let it loosen. You let your hands rest for 1 second. You teach your nervous system that you can survive this moment without scrambling. Then you add one sentence, not an alternative, not a promise, not a task. Just a humane close. I hope you find a solution. You hit send. Now the wait begins. This is where your old self spirals. You stare at the screen. You imagine they're upset. You imagine they'll think you're selfish. You imagine you just damaged your reputation. You start preparing a rescue message. Your body wants to clean the emotional mess before it even exists. So you use the pattern interrupt question you practiced. Am I answering the request, or am I managing their feelings? You already answered the request. What's left is you trying to manage their feelings so you don't feel uneasy. That's the real habit. A few minutes later, they respond, "Wow. Okay. I really needed help. If you can't do it, can you at least tell me who else can? I'm stuck." And there's the second hook. The coordination hook. The "if not you, then you still" hook. Your old self would jump in. Your old self would start listing names, sending intros, offering to message someone on their behalf. Your old self would become the hub. But you practice tool 2, don't coordinate. You reply, "I hear you. I'm not able to help with this." That line does something powerful. It acknowledges their stress without taking ownership of it. It lets them have their feelings without turning you into the solution. Now you wait again. And again your body wants to fix it. I want to add an explanation. It wants to tell them you're overwhelmed, you've had a long week, you're trying to protect your mental health, and you've got family stuff. It wants to justify the boundary. You remember the rule, don't justify a boundary to someone who benefits from you not having one. Not because they're evil, but because the more you justify, the more they see it as negotiable. They'll argue with your reasons. They'll rank their needs higher. They'll say, "But this is important," as if you didn't know that. The argument doesn't end because the core isn't logic. The core is your availability. Your phone goes quiet. No response. Or maybe they send something short, "Fine." This is where you usually fold. This is where you try to repair the vibe. This is where you send, "I'm sorry," and then you offer something small, and that small thing becomes the wedge that opens the door again. You don't do it. Instead, you stand up. You step away from the screen. You take a sip of water. You let your body discharge the tension without turning it into words. You remind yourself, discomfort is not damage. Their disappointment is not an emergency. A boundary doesn't require their approval to be valid. Later that night, you get a message, "I figured it out." No apology. No warmth. Just that. And this is the improved ending, not the perfect ending. You don't need a warm closing scene to stay self-respecting. You don't need the relationship to feel flawless in order to hold a boundary. You're calmer. You're clearer. Your evening is yours. The situation is still ongoing. Maybe the dynamic will shift. Maybe you'll have to repeat this boundary again, but you've proven something crucial to yourself. You can say no without offering alternatives, and you can survive the emotional weather that follows. Reacting is when you feel pressure and start producing options to buy approval. Responding is when you feel pressure and still choose a clean action, simple, intentional, and complete. Reacting is scattered. Your attention splinters into guilt, explanations, and coordination. Responding is focused. Your attention stays on what you control, your choice, your words, and your follow-through. First, we started right inside the tension, where a request hits your phone and your body leans forward to fix it, and you use one sentence that stops the behavior immediately. Then you learned the short no that doesn't leave a negotiation handle, and you practiced making your response boring on purpose so it can't be bargained with. Next, you watched how the mistake happens when pressure shows up, and you replaced justification with calm repetition so your no stays complete. Then we broke the myth that alternatives equal kindness, and you trained the line that acknowledges someone without becoming their coordinator. Finally, you stepped into an end-of-week pressure moment where the old reflex nearly won, and you held your boundary without needing a perfect emotional ending. Do these 3 steps today. 1. Send one clean no in 2 sentences or fewer. "I can't take that on. I hope it goes well." 2. Use one broken record. Repeat once when pushed. "Yeah, I can't." 3. Before replying to any request that triggers guilt, take one longer exhale, relax your jaw, and ask, "Am I answering, or am I managing their feelings?" Watch next, a follow-up on handling pushback without escalation, something like pushback, staying calm when they don't accept your no, because the next layer isn't just saying no, It's not getting pulled back into the conversation after you've said it. When you subscribe, you're not chasing motivation, you're building continued emotional control under real pressure. Subscribe for more Stoic Focus Lab.